50 months in prison.
4 years in prison. $500,000. Sean Diddy Combs was just sentenced in front of a packed courtroom, and the 2 charges that put him away are insane.
He was crying today. I saw him wiping tears from his face in court. He said, "I hate myself right now," before the judge and before this sentence came down.
He'll be a lot better off in prison than he is in the federal jail. You know, at least there you can move around and you got some freedom on the yard and things like that.
Combs, in his own words, saying he realizes he's in a situation where no amount of money or fame can save him.
What I want to do with my freedom is, make sure that I can make change.
We have been following every second of this trial. And after all the giant federal charges, it all came down to this. Today, we're breaking down the sentence, the craziest courtroom reactions, and what's going to happen to his billion-dollar empire.
That is 50 months in prison. Far less than the 11 years requested, far more than the 14 months. He will not walk out of the door behind me in the courtroom today. He will not be a free man for 50 months. The judge says, which is a little shy of 4.25 years, this is a serious sentence that reflects the gravity of your crimes and conducts. He also says this is a hard time away from your family, but also notes that Combs will have a life after prison, after 50 months. This is demonstrating to the court the gravity of the crimes and the conduct, Casey. Here you have it, 50 months for the 2 charges, transportation for the purpose of prostitution, the Mann Act violations. They tried very hard as the defense today, Casey, to suggest that would be a high sentence given the fact that the defense says he did not financially benefit and profit from these so-called prostitution acts. The judge rejecting it almost out of hand, sentencing the music mogul, convicted in July by a jury of his peers, to 50 months in prison.
You are not going to want to miss a single second of this. Okay, the judge just dropped the hammer, 50 months. That's over 4 years in federal prison. And on top of that, a $500,000 fine? For a billionaire, that's literally nothing. But the craziest part is the 5 years of supervised release after he gets out. For 5 years, the government will be watching every single move he makes. And Diddy's reaction to all of this? He stood there completely silent. No drama, no yelling, nothing. He just said, "Thank you, Your Honor." Reporters in the room said it was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. For a guy whose life has been so loud, this silence was unbelievable. To understand how we got to this point, we have to rewind. Just a few months ago, the federal government threw everything at him. We're talking the biggest charges possible, racketeering and sex trafficking. Charges that could have put him in prison for decades. But in the biggest plot twist of the year, the jury found him not guilty on all of those major charges. They were completely wiped out. So what was left? Only 2 small charges for violating something called the Mann Act.
Now, we are following some more breaking news. It has been a very busy Friday here as we have this post from the Inner City Press saying that Sean Diddy Combs has just been sentenced to 50 months of incarceration by the judge. That would be minus the 14 months that he's already served. Right now, I do want to head out to our Fox 5 New York team as they do have extensive coverage. Again, TMZ right there saying Diddy sentenced to 4 years in prison.
Decades, literally decades. He was facing a sentence of life in prison, and now, let's see, he's got 14 real months in. That's really going to count for a year and a half. With the programming that he'll get, he could be in a halfway house in 2 years, in 24 months.
But look at the wording that was of interest. How the judge was pretty much admonishing him, taking into account that the judge felt that he had not shown any remorse. Like that. Combs cried on the stand before, like that. How effective do you think that was playing a part in this?
My uneducated guess is that the judge knew exactly what he was doing before he walked into that courtroom today, that he let everyone have their speech. Everyone, this went on. Normally these things are an hour and a half. We've been here for 8 hours, right? I was on with Rosanna this morning and Kurt, and I said, it's going to be somewhere, I said, plus or minus 5. So it was on a little bit of the minus 5, 4 years, 2 months. As I said, I think this judge, he said almost exactly what we predicted him to say. I know you've done a lot of good things, but I also need to take the bad things you've done into consideration. And therefore, here's my sentence. The prosecutor asking for 11 years was way beyond the pale. Department of Probation said 7 years, and he undercut them. I will tell you, no matter what they say when they come out here, the defense attorneys, I hope they're not going to get mad at me for saying this. They're going to go and have a great meal tonight. They signed up for a case where a guy was facing life in prison, and now a 50-year-old man will probably get out at 52 to 53 years years old, which is 4 years younger than I am. He'll have his whole life ahead of him. He's got tens of millions of dollars in the bank, and hopefully he'll make this horrible situation as productive as possible. He's already started teaching classes.
The prosecutors wanted him to get more than 10 years for these 2 charges, while Diddy's team wanted just over 1 year. The judge landed in the middle, but it was still way more than his team ever expected. So let's break down the only 2 charges that actually stuck, because they are the entire reason Diddy is going to prison. Charge number 1 was for moving a person from one state to another for prostitution. The government proved this with a mountain of evidence, like hotel receipts, private jet logs, and thousands of text messages. And charge number 2? It was the exact same crime, just with a different person in a different city. The reason these 2 charges worked when the massive ones failed is because they were super simple to prove. The prosecutors didn't have to prove a giant, complicated conspiracy. They just had to prove he moved these people across state lines for this one illegal reason.
Diddy was wealthy, right?
He is wealthy.
He is wealthy.
Yeah.
And they talk about stuff like the Illuminati.
Wow, you gonna go that far?
Yeah, I'm going there. Did you see anything?
Say, bro, my vape ready. I gotta smoke to this. You gonna fall now?
We're gonna go a little.
Yeah, I see that. I don't think you're ready for that.
I think you are.
I don't think you are.
No, I'm not. I'm probably not. Let's go there. But we want to go there.
You sure that's what you want?
Yeah, I want to go there.
All right.
So, the Illuminati, is this a real thing?
Yes.
And were you ever introduced to it? Did you?
I would never tell you that. But I would tell you one thing. I told you, success don't come from working hard. What I told you, success comes from being chosen.
Chosen, right?
You just didn't catch me. I went over your head.
Right.
I already told you it was Illuminati.
Okay.
But you gotta have you gotta have supply and demand. You gotta be able to supply what they're willing. You gotta have it. You gotta have what they want. And your job is to make sure that you keep providing it, or they're gonna do you something.
That simple fact is what's sending a billionaire to prison. Inside the courtroom, the tension was exploding. Diddy's own mother was in the front row. And when the judge said 50 months, people heard her whisper, "Lord, be merciful." It's absolutely heartbreaking. Meanwhile, Cassie Ventura's lawyer said that while the sentence is a big deal, it can't erase the trauma. And as you'd expect, Diddy's lawyers are already screaming, "Appeal!" They're saying the judge sentenced him for things the jury already said he didn't do. An appeal can take years, but for now the countdown has started. And we have no idea where they will send him. It could be a low-security prison, but the government can literally send him anywhere. Before we go any further, if you want to know what happens with this appeal the second it drops, you have to subscribe right now. And comment below, was 4 years too much or not enough? I'm going to be reading every single one of your comments. And now for the billion-dollar question, what happens to Diddy's empire? We're talking Revolt TV, his music catalog, and De Leon Tequila. Well, here's where it gets crazy. Convicted felons can't legally own a liquor license. This means his team will have to create shell companies and do insane corporate tricks just to keep his tequila brand alive. And get this, his music streaming numbers actually went up after the verdict. But his massive brand deals are disappearing. One giant company already paused their deal with him indefinitely. On top of that, he spent over $30 million on lawyers alone. We could literally see him start selling off buildings just to pay his bills. The empire is shaking, so how does Diddy's sentence compare to other celebrities? Let's look at the numbers. Tory Lanez got 10 years. R. Kelly got 30 years. Compared to them, 4 years seems tiny. But remember, prosecutors wanted over 10 years for Diddy too. The judge gave him a lighter sentence because Diddy had 0 prior felonies, and he even mentioned his past charity work. But make no mistake, 4 years in federal prison is no joke. Even if he gets out in 3 years for good behavior, he has 5 more years of supervised release. One mistake and he goes right back to prison. This will be hanging over his head until the year 2032. So what are the chances he can actually win his appeal? This is his last chance challenge, and statistically, it's almost impossible. Federal appeals only have a 6% success rate. The odds are horrible! His lawyers are arguing that the judge punished him for charges the jury already said he was innocent of. Appeals courts almost never overrule the trial judge, but it's not impossible. If they win, they could shave years off his sentence. But if they lose, which is the most likely outcome, he has to report to prison within 60 days. This is a crazy high-stakes gamble! Putting all the legal drama aside, the entire internet is now at WAR over this. You have half of Twitter trending "Honor Justice for Survivors," saying the sentence wasn't nearly enough. And the other half is trending Dr. Free Diddy, saying the government went way too far. This divide is everywhere. But in the middle of this internet chaos are the real survivors. The people who testified are now being attacked and threatened online.
Trial, of course, the only opinions that mattered were those in the jury box, and we know where those landed. And then came sentencing, where only one opinion mattered, and that was the judge's. But I cannot stop wondering how Diddy's jury feels about the judge's sentence. My next guest was an alternate on Diddy's panel, and while he didn't help decide Sean Combs' fate, he saw every last bit of that evidence, and he heard all of the witnesses and all of the arguments and all of those tapes. He just goes by a first name, understandably. George, welcome back to the show. It's nice to have you, and we will keep your last name under wraps. I can imagine it's probably been a lot since trial. Can I just ask you for your reaction to that sentence today? 50 months, $500,000 in fine, and 5 years supervised release. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it wasn't exactly what I had hoped for, but I understand how the judge got there, and I am glad that justice was served in the end.
Well, what were you hoping for?
I was hoping a little bit more of like in line with what the federal guidelines were. Yeah, maybe 5-6 years around there. I know the judge gave a little bit less. So kind of in the middle, I was kind of hoping for, but still, this is, I'm glad that there is some justice and that Sean Combs is going to be having some jail time.
Even though their names were kept secret in court, the internet finds everything. For them, this is far from over. So there you have it. 4 years in prison, 2 convictions, and an empire hanging by a thread. Diddy is officially going to prison, and his last chance appeal is all he has left. Now I want to know what you think. Go to the comments right now and tell me, was this sentence fair or did the judge get it completely wrong? And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button, because you won't want to miss our next video the second this appeal gets a verdict. We're following every single second of this.